brand new Harley Davidson suspension for 2025. Watch this video. Hello, welcome to RevelatorAlf. I hope you're all well. So, what's going to be happening for 2025 for the Harley Davidson models? Now, there's been lots of rumors about new bikes that I've been hearing, and people have been sending me messages and emails of what they've been hearing, and thank you for that. I really appreciate any kind of insider information or rumors that people hear as well, because it all adds up to build up a picture, if you know what I mean. But one of the things that I keep on hearing, or one of the things that I've heard from my own sources, in inverted commas, which are not really sources, it's just people, who have kind of heard something as well. Or they might have spoken to an engineer, or spoken to a sales guy, or spoken to a marketing guy, or whatever it is, right? One of the things that keep on talking about is suspension. Suspension across the range, suspension in the touring lineup, suspension and in the Softails, so on and so on and so on. One of the things that keeps on popping up is whether the suspension upgrades from last year's bikes, whether that was enough, whether that was just the first stage, and whether there's going to be even more. The indication is that there's probably going to be more of that happening, and possibly spread out across different bikes as well, different, let's say, on the Softails, and certainly in the touring lineup. Could we see something like the ST suspension being rolled out for the, let's say, just the road glide or the street glide or something like that? What are we going to see about the other bikes in the touring lineup? So this is where I'm kind of falling on this. I don't believe we're going to get anything radical. There isn't anything going to be radical for the Grand American Touring lineup. It's not as if they're going to give everybody Legends or Wilburs or Olin suspension or something like that. Just as the big rumor is that they're doing away with the Limited, doing away with the Ultra as motorcycles, but these are just going to be packages that you can add on to an existing motorcycle, right? So just as you could buy a Limited or an Ultra package for your road glide or your street glide, as in terms of a touring, you could do the same for a suspension setup as well. You can have stock suspension, you could have an Olin suspension, you could have whatever it is. Now, there's no indication that they're going to be offering Olin's, Wilburs or Legends suspension as part of some kind of package, or whether indeed they're going to continue with Showa, or whether they're going to go with a new Screaming Eagle suspension setup or something like that. But the indication is that it's leaning towards that way. Apart from, I've heard this from numerous sources now, or numerous people, let's say, and once again, thank you for sending those emails as well, but the big suspension change might come onto the Trikes. So the Trikes, they're talking about independent suspension. Now, will this make a dramatic difference? Possibly. Now, the Trikes have had some issues with braking a suspension in recent years as well, of course. And there was that big case, the big court case recently, where the lady died off the back of the Trike as well. And that was a recall that wasn't done properly. Now, obviously, Harley Davidson were held to account on that, and they've been sued for millions and millions. How far down the line this goes, who knows? But in terms of giving the bike something or upgrading that Trike, then yeah, independent suspension for the rear wheels, the drive wheels, yeah, that seems to be a logical thing to do. It also moves it into line with what other motorcycle manufacturers or car manufacturers have done for many years, or in terms of small motorcycle manufacturers, or I'm talking like a Can-Am, I'm talking like Aerial Atoms, that kind of thing. We got independent suspension on a small vehicle as well. So could this be a real thing? Yeah, I absolutely think it will be. I think it will be a definite improvement to something like the Trike, where you got independent suspension on those rear drive wheels. Yeah, absolutely. It seems like a no-brainer to me. Now, what about for the rest of the Grand American Touring lineup? See, one of the problems that Harley Davidson have had is that you have the CVO models, which should be sort of standalone. And then you have the rest of the touring bikes, which should be completely different in many ways. That should be something that is prestige, that's something that stands apart. Whereas the other bikes should be a little bit further away. In recent years, unfortunately, especially when we've got the crossover years, they've been very close to each other. Now, in terms of engine sizes, in terms of, power and all the things that you can think of what's on a CVO, and that is not on a regular bike. And obviously this year, CVOs 121, regular bikes had 117. But in terms of overall, it's still not that far apart. So the call has been for the CVOs to really jump that far ahead. So you've got that big space. Now we're talking a 131 there, a 131 in the CVOs. Then you leave the road glide and the street glide at the 117, or you could even bump them up to a 121. Whatever the case might be, but you still got a big gap between the two. But we're talking engine sizes, right? Okay, we're talking power and engine sizes. I mean, really, this is just willy waving in most cases. Where most people feel the difference and they want to have an upgrade is in braking and suspension. So who's got the best? Who has got the best out of these bikes? Well, then you're going to be looking at the CVOs, you're going to be looking at the ST in terms of having suspension that you can set up for you, and it's going to be a great ride. But this is a question I would ask many Harley Davidson rider or any motorcycle rider. How many times do you change your suspension settings on your daily rides? Most people don't. You stick to one setting and away you go. If you carry a passenger, maybe you might, turn it on a little bit, but essentially you don't. Now, if you ride another bike that's got electronic suspension, it does it automatically, so you never have to worry about it. But I'm talking about a bike with manual suspension. Most people never, ever change it. Now, lots of people say, no, I change my suspension. Yes, some people will, but most don't. That's my point. So when we're talking about suspension upgrades, is it something that most Harley Davidson riders are looking for, or are they perfectly happy with the suspension that they've already got? Now, of course, we're talking about touring motorcycles for a number of years in terms of their pretty abysmal rear suspension and front suspension as well. But then they improved it for the 2024 bikes as well. And people are going, yeah, okay. You got the ST and the CVO suspension as well. You think, oh, okay, yeah, okay, this is good stuff from Harley Davidson, right? But there are many people out there who still, I hear it on a regular basis, with people saying, you know what, the suspension I've got on my bike, the stock suspension from, 2016, 2015, whatever it is, it's fine. It's absolutely fine. I don't need it to be anything. The point I'm trying to make is that you can watch YouTube videos. You can listen to all sorts of people talking about, I upgraded this and I did this suspension, everything like that. They might be correct for what they ride or how they ride. But for most riders, I bet, I would wager a bet, most people very rarely change their suspension settings, and they're perfectly happy with the stock suspension, or I should say, they don't complain about it. It's something they just get on with. It just is what it is. Just like you get in a car, that's the suspension. It's a bit rough every now and again, and it's the way you go. Now, if you did have the money, $5,000-$6,000, let's say, to upgrade the suspension, you probably think, yeah, okay, yeah, I might do that. But most people are laying out a huge amount of money for these bikes anyway. They wish the suspension was better, but they haven't really got the money to go and upgrade the suspension again. And then they kind of think, well, why do I need to spend all this money again? Do you know what I mean? So there's almost like this reluctance to spend this money again, albeit it might be warranted. So if Harley Davidson come in with suspension upgrades or continue the evolution of suspension upgrades, but for the same price, that's probably where they're going to be going. There won't be something dramatic. It'll be something that, we're going to keep on trickle feeding this new technology or these advancements for you. But if you want something different from stock that we've already improving, well, we're going to give you all these packages, and these packages are going to be touring package, a sport package, a cruising package, whatever it is. You can have all these packages. So that's basically what I've heard, is that it's all going to come down to packages. It all depends when you go to a dealership and you sit down with a salesman and you say, this is the bike that I want to order it like this. I want to order it with this package, with that suspension, and everything like that. Now, I've been saying this for many, many years, to say, why can't you, as a customer, go into any motorcycle dealership and just say, look, actually, I want this bike, but I want it with those wheels, I want it with that seat, I want it with these sorts of handlebars, and you order it bespoke to you from the factory. You can wait, okay? You can wait a couple of months, that's fine, but you want to order it. And maybe this is what we're moving into. We're moving into ordering a bespoke bike from the factory. They're not really bespoke, but they're kind of, you're ordering to your own specification. That's pretty much what you want. You're choosing the color, you're choosing everything. You're not picking a bike that's already in the system. You're picking a bike that you actually want, and you don't have to pay extra for it, or you don't have to pay extra for the upgrade. Now, this could be something that they want to do, or it might not. We'll have to wait and see. But brand new suspension for 2025. I think you're going to get it on some bikes. I think you're going to get options on some bikes as well. But I don't think there's going to be anything radical for 2025 bikes. The Trikes, they're going to get independent suspension. It appears to be. That's the rumor. I say thanks again for different people who've been sending in information on that as well. But the buzzword for 2025 Harley Davidsons, especially in the touring lineup, is going to be ordering a package. Performance and styling packages. That's what you're going to be looking at for your bikes for 2025. Unless something dramatically changes, unless Harley Davidson are going to do something different, then obviously that's on them. But in terms of what people are really wanting, yes, they may want different suspension, but they've already addressed a lot of that for most riders. Most riders get on these 2024 bikes now with this suspension and they think, wow, this is pretty good. We quite like this, especially compared to the previous bikes. So now if you can add differences to that bike in terms of packages, then yeah, that might work as well. But most people will just continue with the evolution of the standard motorcycle suspension and be happy with that, or have all these Harley Davidson different options as well. That's what we're going to be looking at for 2025. So that appears to be it for the suspension discussion for 2025 bikes from Harley Davidson. We know they're going to be starting to come out into the motorcycle shows from next month, certainly here in Europe as well, the Milan Motorcycle Show, the EICMA. So we'll see what happens there as well. But in terms of what's coming in 2025, well, really, it's January. We're really going to find out. And we're going to find out what is going to happen in terms of all these different packages and how it's going to affect all the different bikes as well. Not only the touring lineup, but also in the Softail lineup as well. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you like what I do here, keep on watching the videos and I'll catch you again. Bye now.